Good morning, everybody. I'm Parcaut and Brian Galke, and we are Aces53, and it seems like it's a Monday, even though it's a Tuesday.
Yep.
I tell you, this week, we need to take Mondays off from now on because after Super Bowl should be a national holiday, especially for the Kansas City Chiefs. Let me finish the Kansas City Chiefs so they can cry, because I don't think Mahomes has lost that bad in his history. So you can see it was pretty sad. I understand that. The question is, can they come back from this?
I heard the term on Monday. It's if everybody's sluggish, it's called getting Super Bowled on Sunday. So that's the term now. Yeah. Hey man, you look really tired. Did you get Super Bowled on Sunday?
Yeah. So, everybody was saying that they'd give up a national holiday to have a holiday after the Super Bowl.
They should move it to just Saturday, or like you said, or give it a holiday afterwards. I mean, it really is. It's kind of like
how about noon?
Yeah. Do something, but it's fun.
It's so much later for you guys. It's 3:30 here. That means it's 6:30 on the East Coast. 5:30 where you are. I'm like, okay, why don't we do this thing at like 10 a.m. or noon or something?
Well, it's a gathering thing, right? I mean, it's like 4th of July. It's like anything else. I mean, the amount of people I saw out or going to a house party or something of that nature on Sunday it's huge. Very few people watch it at home. It really is something. It's a gathering. It's like Thanksgiving, but around the television. So yeah, they need to make it a holiday afterwards.
Well, we used to have huge Super Bowl parties. I mean, like epic, like had so many, and then finally we got to a point where like, why are we doing this?
Yeah.
I can't even enjoy the football game. I don't get to watch it. I'm too busy making sure everybody else is taken care of. It's not like I'm sitting on the couch going, there's the refrigerator. Shut up.
Yeah.
No, we're doing everything. And finally, once we moved to our new house, that was our old house that we had forever, we're like, we're not doing them anymore.
Yeah.
And so then we went from a few people and down. It's just my wife and I. We don't want to go anywhere. We just want to stay home, watch it, and be done with it.
Yeah.
And I don't want to go to them because it's too crazy.
Well, you have to worry about being on the road. I mean, why more people don't Uber is beyond me. Like, especially if you're going somewhere local. But it is, like I said, people take their kids and everything. So to your point, well, if you're taking your kids with you to somebody's house to watch the game's not over till 10. You know, your kids are up late for school and everything else. So you're right. Either make it Saturday or start it earlier in the day. But anyway.
I mean, we used to have them and people hanging around and it's like, get out of here. It's been over for an hour. Get them. Yeah. I got work tomorrow. I got other things tomorrow. Get out. Go home.
One of the things I saw over the weekend is, and it's been several people who are doing this now in 2025, and that is...
Oh, we're going to get into something now instead of just bullshitting? Okay.
Yeah. Is the amount of people pushing podcasts. Now it's back again. So for a while it was, there's too many podcasts, don't do it. But with everything that happened with the election last year, it seems like that's the new thing. So last year was, hey, I'm an AI expert, let's do it. But I'm seeing more and more people come out and say, podcasts are what you need. So I know that's something you put a course together for as well. But I'm starting to see a lot more people going back to that this year because of the impact and influences that it was before that, where people are breaking away from watching news and daytime television shows and everything, and people are watching more and more podcasts. So it is interesting to see how that's the 2025 trend is. I can help you set up a webinar, or you need to have a podcast.
Because you need to have webinars too. So I know you want to get there eventually. So
yeah, webinars we'll save for another one, because I know who the perfect joker for that one. But
no, I mean, the webinars are important because you should schedule 1 or 2 a month of whatever you do and just say that's when you have them. You can eventually get evergreen ones, and we'll get into that later. So that way people don't have to wait for them. But that's after you've done it really well.
Yes.
And you know exactly what you're doing. But back to podcasting. Podcasting's been here forever. Since I know people started in like 2013. Other people started before that. It's consistency though.
Right.
I know we're going to get there eventually. That was the topic we said was going to be today, was consistency. Yeah. And I think the biggest problem is with most podcasters is they're all gung-ho about it, and they do it for the wrong reasons.
Yeah. So I watched a webinar the guy had. While I was exercising in the garage, I hopped on the air bike. And so for 30 minutes, I watched it. And that's what he's talking about. That's how he grew his business when he left corporate America, was through podcasts. And of course, he's offering something afterwards about this is how he got celebrities on. But it is making it around. And he had a similar statistic to what you talked about. And that was, he said, most people never make it past 10 episodes. And because they're not thinking, what's the purpose behind the podcast? They're just thinking like, I'm going to have people on my podcast, but not what's going to help with your audience and everything else. It was interesting to watch.
It goes to the same reason you do your marketing and everything else. Who is your perfect client? Who is your avatar? If you're younger, the question really is, who is that? Because that's who you should be talking to, and your podcast should be. Why are you doing it? Are you trying to do it to build your business? Are you trying to do it because you just want to talk to people? Are you trying to do it to be an influencer? You need to find out why you're doing it. And if it's all vanity reasons, it's not going to last.
Well, I saw something that I know there's matching services. You talk about them all the time. I saw someone post the other day saying that if you let people on your show now, the average one's paying like $32 per episode. I guess I didn't realize that was a thing. I knew people signed up for matchmaking services with podcasting, but I didn't realize some of the people who were offering, hey, come on yours, that they were charging people for it, except for the big names.
Well, no, some like Podmatch, part of the whole thing, they'll give you money for having somebody on the podcast if there's a certain level and stuff. And then they'll tell you, this person isn't paying for it if you don't want to have them on your podcast. It's like, okay, well, I'm not doing it for that. I want to have the actual information out there. And I constantly, people are like, dude, that was a really good podcast. I've been on these podcasts and I'll say something and they'll go, okay. And then the next question, you challenge me. You don't, we don't argue, but I challenge what people say, because just because you say it doesn't mean it's real. Just because I offended you doesn't mean you have the right to be offended. That just means you don't understand where I came from with that, or you didn't give me the understanding that maybe there was a word that you missed in the conversation we were talking about. You gonna drink there? Okay.
Sorry, my throat went dry for a minute.
I'm just saying, podcasting is really good. It's great. And I do it just to learn about other people. Because my wife first said, why are you doing it? I'm like, I have no fucking idea why I'm doing it, because I enjoy it. I mean, the radio, we do that because that helps. First of all, it gets educate people and we get business from it. It's a secondary because we educate people. My first podcast, Enter Edison, was all about your greatest confidence come from your greatest defeats. I had so many first guests. I'm not saying they're not amazing now. I'm just saying in the beginning, I got lucky because I was going to Steve Sims events and he would tell every one of his speaker, you have to be on their podcast or this or that. And you would get really good people on your podcast. And it helped out a lot in the beginning to where I got to #1 in the world for that podcast. And then I was like, okay, I want to give back even more. So I want to do Helping the Brave. And I had 3 other co-hosts, and it was a live thing on LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook constantly. And then eventually, after years, people fall off. And, and then finally, it's just me. And then I interviewed a veteran or somebody who can help a veteran. And lately, it's been pushing towards more what I'm getting more into with benefits and helping people get their benefits.
Right. Well, I think we talked about 2 weeks ago or whatever. I watched the Diary of a CEO podcast, and the guy's on episode 420 something. And that's what we're talking about. Like the first 100 hardly had anybody ever watching it. But then when things come in, they don't just come in, increase incrementally, they double in size. And that was the whole Daniel Priestley interview he did on Diary of a CEO. It's pretty fascinating. And it goes back to what we were going to talk about anyway, and that is consistency. And that's a lot of people, okay, I want to start a podcast, but they don't schedule it. Like it's going to be on this day, it'll go out on this time. And that's why they seem to lose it, is they're not in it for the consistency.
Well, also it takes a while. Okay. So there's also, you got to get good at it. You're not good at it. You suck at it in the beginning. I don't care. In my radio days, 2018, I'll never listen to any of those episodes because I was really bad, even though they said, man, you're a natural. I wasn't. And I've gotten so much better. Yes, I occasionally say and whatever. I don't care about that. That's about the conversation. And that's all I care about is a conversation. But it takes here's why this is what I'll say. Basically, you start the podcast, you're getting guests, you're getting good at everything, you're building it up. After a couple of years, you've gotten a lot of people, you finally get to a point where you can afford to have somebody help you edit or do other things. And then you can have somebody help you post the stuff on a regular basis. And then it gets consistency. So with those people who started that podcast, you said that they increased and doubled and tripled. I guarantee you at a certain point, they got help. To act. See, I had help in the beginning on my Enter Edison and it did really well. Then my industry fell apart. And then we took it over in house and it didn't, we post on a regular basis, but not as much as what we should be doing.
Right.
And that's the key about getting okay, 5 years ago versus today, 4 years ago versus today, 2 years ago versus today, VAs, night and day difference. They're all over the place.
Yes.
Be careful. You'll step on
them. Yeah. It used to be Philippines was the only country you really heard about VAs from. Now they're all over the world. And there's different, you can hire teams, not just an individual one. I mean, I think we've referenced this before, but 4-Hour Workweek was the first book I'd ever even heard of a VA. And then, like we talked about before, you had to give them keys to the kingdom, right? There wasn't separate logins that you could assign them give them to delegate out certain tasks. And then people got taken advantage of. They were locked out of their own accounts, did all kinds of bad things. So it really has evolved that you can have a VA. I know somebody who has a VA, pays them $8 an hour, I think. And so they work 40 hours a week. So it's costing them like $800-900 a month. And they're doing her social media. They're doing posting for her. They're applying for speaking gigs, all kinds of things.
That's cheap. That's really cheap. Where'd they get that person?
I don't know.
Because that's cheap. Because most of the places have went to where they train them now. And they train them in a certain way so that you don't have to worry about it. And those full time is around anywhere from $1,200 to $1,700 a month. And then you have people like the guy we know that loves to be on stage. His company now, it's $3,000 a month for their people, but they're like majorly train them. You know, yeah. So again,
were you in Arizona when he did the one day? And like gave out the worksheet and everything? No. Okay, I couldn't remember. I knew you were with us in Scottsdale once before, but I couldn't remember which one.
No, that was not at that one. I haven't been to one for a while.
Yes.
LA was the one I was at. The original that was in Hollywood.
Well, speaking of LA, he's going to be doing one again. That's going to be the one in May, right? In downtown LA.
Yeah.
So
if it's still there.
Yeah. Well, no, that's why he had to move it. It was supposed to be in Malibu. And it was near the Palisades, I guess. So
that's not a good place to be at.
Nope. He said the venue was still there, but the destruction around it, he's just like, I don't know, they'll be rebuilt by then. So he moved it to downtown.
According to what they were keeping them out of their houses for 18 months.
Yeah.
And then finally that changed.
Yeah.
The T-Man.
Yeah.
T-Rex.
But back to consistency, that it's just with everything. So like we talked about posting, and I'm bad. Like I have not the best method, but I get up every morning, hop over to Opus Clips, take a clip, do it. Now, some people sit down and batch their stuff and just push it out the different days. I've tried doing that and then I forget, where do I leave off? What do I need to do? So I do it separately. I just get up and do it every day, turn on something on YouTube, usually a podcast, find the video, throw it into Opus Clips, break it out, then put it in CapCut, which I am surprised. So they canceled all of our subscriptions, but if you go into the desktop version, you can re-sign up again. Because if not, everybody's subscription was going to end this month. But obviously, what's that?
For CapCut?
For CapCut.
Oh, why are they getting rid of it?
Well, remember it went away when TikTok went away.
Right.
And it's owned by the same company. So they canceled everybody's subscriptions and you can sign up for monthly or yearly. I'm like, I'm not going to sign up for a year because I don't know if you're going to be here in a month. But I imagine they will be. But yeah, so if anybody had CapCut and they got the cancellation notice, you can go with the desktop version and go upgrade to the monthly plan. Because I tried doing it through my phone, it wouldn't let me. It just said, hey, your iTunes subscription to CapCut's done.
Oh, by the way, if you do Cast Magic, cancel your thing, and then they'll email you and go, oh, we saw that you canceled. Would you like to come back for X amount? No, thank you.
We love you. We really, really love you. Don't leave us.
How about 40% off for yearly? No, thank you. How about 50% off? Okay, I'll do that.
Yeah. Well, it's like everything else. I do hope, and this is the only thing I'll say politics wise. One of the things where they're talking about dropping credit card fees back to 10%. I hope they do that because it's crazy. You know, you get mail from them all the time.
Where they used to be 10%.
They were low, very low. Like I remember I got into something like 8-9%, and then
that was when rates were super low.
Yeah, but they just send out notices. Hey, by the way, we jacked it up a little bit. You know, and you look at the profit center for that. It's crazy. But to your point, it's funny how many services that when you go to cancel it, oh, wait, we love you. We'll give you this big discount. It's like, well, then why did you raise the price on me before?
Well, I mean, because Cast Magic is ridiculous. I mean, it really is expensive for what you get. Where Opus Clips, I can get a whole year for $500. You know what I mean? So, yeah. and and it's like, which one has the most value?
Mm-hmm. Well, it's going to be interesting to see what the edits by Instagram is going to look like, but
it's not going to do what I do on this other stuff. That's going to be for Instagram.
It's going to be for Instagram, but it'll be interesting to see what all they throw into it. Will it be strictly for Instagram, or will it be, hey, you can also use this on other platforms? It'll help you on the different ones. We'll wait and see.
They should just name it something else and then be able to use it on other platforms. That's what they should do.
Yeah, because I can't see them scheduling to go to TikTok.
No, or they'll do I'm sure they'll do Facebook.
Probably so. But I can't remember the guy's name. Let me see if I can find it. There's an account I started following.
You shouldn't worry. Okay, first of all, you should figure out what you're going to do. You're podcasting, start a podcast. You're going to cut it up into 2. So and again, do a daily podcast and maybe a 5-minute one. Right. You do a 5-minute quick podcast. I did a guy, he interviewed me for 10 minutes and it was like, okay, thank you so much. All right. That was great. It's like, that was his thing. It was 10 to 15 minutes was what he would do and cut it up and just drop that much time. And that was what his podcast was. You just have to figure out what it is and be consistent on it. And nobody really wants to watch a 30-minute podcast if somebody they don't know, but they'll watch a 2 or a 3-minute of your podcast. And so that's that's the whole thing they talk about is post the full thing on YouTube. However, cut it up into 2, 3, max 5-minute segments. So I would rather do 2 3-minute segments than 3 shorts. And that's what you post, and then cut them up to put on all the different social medias to show where your stuff's at. And that's how over time will build. And it works. It does work, but you have to be consistent on it. But you also have to be good at what you do. Because I don't care how much you post about something and how whatever. If you're no good, if you're spending all that time and money posting how great you are and how you're doing it, and then they listen to you and you're horrible, they're not coming back.
Well, that was always the big thing, right? When ClickFunnels and other services came out, it was who actually knows their stuff versus who's a good marketer or has a good funnel. And that's kind of where this goes. Is a lot of people are great at creating short clips and everything to get attention, but like you said, then their follow through when you actually see them, they suck. There's the account I was looking for. I finally found it. It's Adam Mosseri, Mosseri, or at Mosseri, Mosseri. That's the guy he's the guy over content at Instagram, and he's constantly posting tips and tricks. And I thought it was really interesting. He is the spokesperson for Instagram now, telling you, hey, here's what we're changing. This is what we're doing. And he'll do Ask Me Anything when he's at the airport. Now, some people bash the hell out of him, because there's always trolls out there. But he provides good information about Instagram.
Good. Yeah. But I mean, you need to figure out what you're going to do and just focus on that and be consistent. And it's, if you're doing, so maybe you need to figure out what you want to be and only do that. My problem is I do too much and I need to cut back.
Yeah.
I just don't want to. I'm like, can I hire more people to do stuff so I can keep doing what I'm doing? Cause I like what I'm doing. But if you look at Alex Hormozi, he's like, this one guy had a company. He bought 3 other companies, put them all together, and now has a $4 million company versus $1 million company. And that's the way you have to look at. Right. Are you being pulled in many different directions where you can put that energy in one place? And that's what you should focus on.
Well, they talk about you should have pillars, have different streams of income, but can the pillars feed off of each other? So are you buying 4 completely different businesses that don't have any linkage at all? Or are you buying 4 businesses that can help each other out or cross-pollinate to a degree?
Right. Well, I mean, it's what you're talking about is your book business. You have your speaking business. You potentially have, what else am I missing here? Besides your normal business,
coaching, courses, books. Right. Yeah.
But then again, coaching, I mean, everybody's a fucking coach.
Well, who was it?
Mastermind. There you go.
Roland Frazier was on Steve's group the other week, and I guess he used to be in a band. And one of the first businesses he had is he realized how expensive it was to rent out the PA and all that kind of stuff for the band to come set up. So that was his first business. Is he was in a rock band, but then he bought the equipment that the band was renting. So he started making money from that. So that's what I mean of how can one feed off the other one at the same time? Yeah. So
well, that's just like I had a networking company back in the day that we'd set up new mortgage companies. Well, I set up the one I was part of constantly because we'd move and grow whenever. And so we created a networking company, and the guy was like, he caught me here one day. He's like, "What are you here?" "I'm making sure everything's getting put into place." "Oh man, thanks so much."
Yeah.
No, he didn't realize I was that company, right? Because I had another person who was the head of the company.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In what was it, in Rich Dad Poor Dad, or one of the books, they were like, "Hey, buy a duplex, live on the other side, but don't tell anybody you're the owner."
You never tell anybody you're the owner, because then they'll have sob story. "I can't make rent this month."
Exactly.
Oh, I couldn't make it, and the landlord told me I had a 3-day quit. He put on my door. "You might want to go get some money."
Yeah. Anywho,
All right. So we're talking about consistency and how you need, because even I was talking with I was listening to Alex Hormozy. He was talking about how, it took him forever to get bigger, and it was all eventually about consistency, and how he said, when he started, I'm going to do 10 years into this, and the guy that was helping him, and then eventually he brought it in house. And when he did that, the guy was like, "I just want to thank you. You changed my business because you're the first person that said I'm going to do this for at least 10 years."
Right.
And he goes, before that, people would say, "I need a 6-month ROI on this, or I'm not going to continue on." And that's what people run into when it comes to podcasting and all this stuff. It is a lot of work. I'm not trying to scare you. I'm just telling you, it is a lot of work. You not only have to do the interview, then it has to be edited. You have to do your opener closes. Then you have to put it up through Libsyn or wherever else you're going to put it up. And you're doing video and also audio. And then, you can do so I guess Spotify has it where you can just do your video up there, and that it does. But I've heard some stories that people lost stuff because their account got stopped or something, and then they lost everything. So just be careful doing something like that. And so it's a lot. And I don't know if I beat this horse to death, and I'm sorry if you like horses, but it's I'm just saying it's a lot of work. You really have to think about that. And how often are you going to do it? Once a week? Fine. You can batch them and do 10 at a time, and then edit them and do all that stuff. But who's going to do the editing? Who's going to do all that other stuff? There's stuff like Podcastle where it's easy to do it. It does AI editing and all this stuff, makes it sound so much better. It's so much easier. Put music in the beginning, music at the end, the whole 9 yards. There's so many things you can do now yourself.
Sure.
And or figure out how you want it, and then find a VA. Again, it's so much easier to find a VA. I keep saying this, even though I'm looking for mine right now. I have stuff out. It's funny how you try to do something, and then you go to these companies people tell you to go to, and then they're like, "Okay, I can't make your appointment." And then they want you to reschedule, and then they can't make your appointment, and they want you to reschedule. It's like, okay, well, then you don't have time for me.
I think I told you I was talking to a website company, and they set the first meeting at their time, which was midnight for me. And then they no-showed. I was like, that's not a good way to start a relationship.
No.
So hence why I moved
away. Not showing up for the date.
Yeah, exactly.
The first date. "Oh, I'm sorry. I totally forgot. I was with another woman."
Yeah. It's amazing what's out there.
Yeah. You just have to be careful with everything, and put a plan together. Ask ChatGPT to write a plan for you how to start something, because it will do really well for you and help you out.
Yeah, it was interesting. I took a screenshot of it. A lady did a post the other day that it was really interesting what she asked ChatGPT to do. Let me find it. So she asked it to, let me see, 1, 2. So write down all your future goals and desires in a document, how you want your life to look like. Then number 2, go into ChatGPT and say, "Tell me a story about a day in the life of my future self based on that description." Then number 3 was read through your future life, visualize it, feel it, let it sink in, and then go to ChatGPT and say, "Create a daily schedule for me to follow to allow me to achieve this goal." Thought that was pretty interesting.
Yeah, having an AI tell you what your future life's going to be.
Yeah, but it's to your point, like you said, it helped write out curriculum for you, helped with books, it helped with all kinds of things.
You're limited by what you want to ask it, and I try to explain. Like I'm creating, like I said, I'm limited on Brainwith, but I'm doing a benefits company with somebody, and we're going to help grow. It's more of an educational thing, and we talk twice a week. I'll drop my stuff to him with ChatGPT. He goes, "I was just going to ask you about this, and you have it here already for this." And that's what you're limited by what you ask it. Now you also have to understand, if you're asking it how to do certain things that are mathematical or other stuff, it might make it wrong. It might have a wrong answer or certain things. So have it verify what you're asking it. Now I had it take I had a reverse mortgage quote. It's this whole thing. It's like 15 pages, and I dropped it in ChatGPT, told it to write a sales letter for me. It was a nice sales letter. It says, here's what your costs are. Here's what you're going to get your first year, what you're going to get a second year, reasons why you want to do this, reasons you don't want to do. I mean, it did everything. Perfect letter that I was like, that would have taken me an hour minimally. Right. Then I'm like, here's another one. It was done. Here's a third one. It was done. That would have been 3 hours that I saved. But not only that, sometimes I get people who I run their credit and their credit's not the greatest, or we need this a little bit higher. And so I used to go through these what ifs and do this, which should take another half hour to 45 minutes. Well, now you delete all their pertinent information in their credit report, drop it in there, and then say, ChatGPT, help me do this. It's a prompt to get them to do stuff. And it came back and told me what needed to be done. I told it to write a letter, to an email letter, and dropped it in, sent it off, and it was done in, again, 5 minutes.
Yeah. It's crazy what you can do. And Heather, I don't know if you met Heather Wagenhall or not. She does the voice one, and so she named it and everything, and she talks to it. She says, like talking to literally having an assistant in the room, and it responds back. And now she'll go ask it questions all the time. It gives her all kinds of insights because we're used to talking versus typing. And so, yeah, she nicknamed hers, does the audio version, talks to it all the time, asks it questions, tells her what she's doing. And it gave her some hard truths the other week. She was like, oh God, it called me out on this. It called me out on that, because it got to know her over time by having those conversations.
And if you're doing ChatGPT and you write your own GPTs, we talked about this before we got started. There's a way to put a clause in the beginning to where people can't see what you have for information inside of it. Mm-hmm. So they can't take what you did and create their own. They'd have to actually work at it.
Yeah.
So if you do one of those, make sure you do that. But I mean, there's just so many different ones you can do, or you could do like I did. One guy was showing it on YouTube, what he did and everything. I took a picture, and then just retyped it myself and created it my own way. Yeah. So you just gotta be, but I've created so many different ones that help me so much. And my daily show, I created one for that I just drop in a few articles and a few information, and it writes it in perfect form that I want for my show. And we talk, and I just have it on the screen, and I can read it and what I want it to go. I do the same thing we used to have to, I had an assistant through my radio who was also the co-host, or she was not the co-host first. And she would write the script each week for the radio show. Talk about how hard it was, how much work it was, and how much I should pay her for doing it. And now ChatGPT does it for me for free.
Yep. That goes back to what we talked about. What job do you have, and what are you doing to make sure that you can't be replaced by AI or automation?
Yeah. So what I do is I grab the information that was pertinent from the week before and up to that week, drop it into my radio show one, and I have it for first segment, second segment, third, and then I only have it there. And then my producer, who for the radio show, will send us articles that he thinks we should talk about that day, and then I drop those 3 articles in, boom, or 4 or whatever, and it's right there on my script. And my co-host, he's reading them while we're doing it, and I already have it there.
Awesome.
Yeah. So there's so much you can do. Let's make your life easier, but we really got to get to a point where you have to get an AI.
Right.
I'm sorry, VA.
Well, both.
VA, that's
AI, and have a VA to help you. Yes.
Yeah.
So,
all right, I'm gonna call it a day. Hey, I might not be here Thursday. I might have jury duty. I won't know until 5 p.m. in the evening, so we might as well just say we're not here this Thursday.
Yeah, we won't be here because I'm going to be attending an event anyway, a speaker training things here in Dallas. So I'm going to go head that.
All right. I apologize. Don't cry about it. We'll be here next week. Don't worry. I know you're going to miss us, but we'll be back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I know we have fun. So
again,
we've been doing this.
I can see us before Valentine's Day.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's this Friday. They just saw us before Valentine's Day. Right now.
That's right.
Here's a prime example about consistency, and what Brian and I do this Tuesdays and Thursdays pretty much all the time, and occasionally we don't. But what we haven't been doing is what you have to do if you're doing a podcast, which is uploading it through what I talked about and doing the stuff we're doing. We don't do that. We just do it live on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And the question is, people go, why don't you have it as a podcast? We like to listen to you. Well, why can't you just go to YouTube and listen to us?
Exactly.
But once one of us gets a VA and then 2 of us gets a VA, we'll definitely do it. But that's That's how things take off. Is once you get to a point where you get the people in place. We're doing this for a couple of years. We're pretty good at it now. We have a great rapport between the two of us. All we need is a little bit more information put out there so people know it's there, and we would get more and more people watching it. And then it doubles, triples, quadruples, and everything over time. And that's why it's not an overnight. It took Alex Hormozi 7 years to get to 1 million downloads. Nobody knew who he was.
No, like I said, I spoke at an event with him in 2021, and here's this guy with like stick figure drawings. It made sense, but you're used to presentations where people have this vast depth of pictures and all these things. He's got little stick figures.
Well, you know that came from, right?
Who is this guy? What's that?
So ClickFunnels had a guy who would do the stick figure drawing at the events about what was going on, pictures and stuff about what was done, and he would do the drawings. So I assume that's because Alex, I guess from what I didn't know, they were huge ClickFunnels people, weren't they?
Yeah, he wrote in the first book, he talked about he joined not knowing anything about marketing, and he spent money he didn't have. The story you hear a lot. I maxed out my credit card to join this group, and that's what he said changed his life, because he knew how to run a gym, but he didn't know how to market it and do other things.
Which is very important. You need to know who your client is first. All right, let's call it a day.
Yeah.
You gonna take
All
us
right,
out?
everyone. Well, once again, thank you for joining us on Aces53 with Ed Parcaut and myself. We are here Tuesdays and Thursdays at noon Central, 10 p.m. or 10 a.m. Pacific.
Only if we mess up, we're at p.m.
Well, if somebody did send out something, I'll go on this whole other ADD thing. But anyway, on Tuesdays and Thursdays, it's Ed and I. Thursdays, we try and bring a joker. What's a joker? It's someone with a special skill or talent we think you guys would benefit from, and truthfully, we would benefit from as well. So the best way to support us is like, share, and tell other people about it. Other than that, thank you for joining us today. Thanks, Ed.
All right. Thank you. Everybody make it a great